Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to my brothers and sisters in New York, around the United States of America, and around the world. Thank you so much for joining us here on iTV as we continue our series. So, my name is Afaf Nasher. I am a lawyer and I'm the executive director for CARE New York. And of course, we're here in this blessed month of Ramadan. Ramadan, this holy month of so many different blessings. Of course, the month of the Quran. I hope, inshallah, that your Ramadan is going well, that your fasting is accepted, that your prayers are accepted, inshallah, that your supplications and du'as are accepted. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all to continue to cleanse our hearts and our souls and be closer to Him, inshallah. So CARE New York is a civil rights organization. We do defend Muslims here in New York, and we're part of a family of a civil rights organization called CARE all around the United States. And what we do is essentially we make sure that your right to do ibadah, your right to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your right to be able to be a Muslim, whether you're in the street or in a private business or working for the government, is upheld. Because of course, everyone should have the right to practice their religion freely. And here in the United States, just as Christians and other people have the right to practice their religion, we too should not be targeted just because we're Muslim and we have certain faith beliefs. My brothers and sisters in Islam, one of the things, unfortunately, that we have had to encounter here are hate crimes. Now, let me define what a hate crime is for you first and foremost, and then inshallah, I'll give you examples of some of the things that we've seen. A hate crime is a crime that has already occurred and that's already against the penal code, meaning there's already an underlying crime. But what motivated the crime was hatred towards somebody's race, towards their religion, towards their gender, towards what we call a protected class. And the type of hate crimes that unfortunately we've seen here in New York have been broad. We've seen, for example, since the pandemic came, many Asian Americans have been assaulted. But as Muslims, we too are very identifiable. Sometimes, for example, by the way we dress. Let's say a sister in her hijab or a brother when he wears traditional clothing. Sometimes we're coming out of our masajid. Sometimes because of our names. Our names obviously give away our faith as well when your name is Muhammad or Aisha. And sometimes as well as the language that we speak or even the color of our skin because people associate different things with Islam out of ignorance. Having said that, no one should fear what their name is. No one should fear what their religion is. No one should fear being dressed in a certain way here, especially in the United States. But that's not always the case. When I first came on to working with CARE New York, one of the very first issues that we dealt with was a very unfortunate tragedy in which a brother coming out of a masjid, he was actually the imam, out of Southeast Asian descent, and his assistant were walking down the street and they were both killed, execution style. And that really prompted a huge response for the community, which is good, but it should have never happened in the first place. And I remember that day very clearly. It was so sad, but the community came out in the streets and they were yelling how much they wanted justice, and they were pushing the mayor to respond and pushing the police officers to respond and to investigate properly. And alhamdulillah, that kind of activism and that response from the community did bring a lot of attention to the matter, and that's important. None of that brings back our dear Imam and his assistant. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have rahmah, have mercy upon their souls, especially in this blessed month. We remember them, we remember their families who were first generation immigrants. He had children, and so I'm sure the struggle was very real and very painful, as it was to many people who knew him and even the broader community. But perhaps one of the saddest things about it is that this ended up being a hate crime. And CARE New York was involved in the way that we came and responded. We held a press conference. Even Dawah, our founder from CARE, came to New York. The mayor came. The janazah was public. Newspapers carried it. But after all the cameras were gone, my brothers and sisters, after the protests in the street were gone, even after the person was arrested who ended up being convicted of the crime, there was really not that many people following up on the matter. And that's important too, because as a community, we have to know that the legal system is a process. It's not an overnight situation where everything just cleared even after the arrest takes place. So as an organization, we went to the families, we explained the criminal procedures and process to them so that they understood that this could take months, a year, maybe longer, maybe even up to 2 years. We explained to them the steps. But more importantly, I think we also gave them a voice. We made sure that their voices were being heard and their faces were being seen by New York City and New York State court system. So they had the opportunity, for example, to speak with the district attorney in Queens where the crime was committed multiple times. We brought the sisters, we brought the brothers, we brought the family members. We made sure that the city was providing for them transportation to go back and forth to the courtroom every single day that the trial was taking place. And we made sure that the attorneys who were handling the matter were talking to them with every single step so that what their wishes were being respected. Now, again, it's a sad situation and we shouldn't have to face that at all. And unfortunately, we do. It's not the first time, nor is it the last time. And we tend to see that these hate crimes spike when there's political activity, especially in presidential elections. And we've seen, unfortunately, some people who wish to be elected who are very much against Muslims, who actually inspire hatred towards our community. And it's up to every single one of us to say, it's not okay to hate, and there's no place for hatred. Just like our faith teaches, Lukum dinukum waliya din, we also have to promote a pluralistic society, meaning everyone should have the right to believe what they want and to adhere to the culture that they want. There's no one definition of being American. Being an American means being who you are, so long as you're within the confines and the regulations of the law. And as a Muslim, I have every right to live as a Muslim here, and so do you. And inshallah, bi'idhnillah, if we all come together and we try to be proactive in our efforts, when we try to teach people what Islam is, when we try to give them the positive notion of what Muslims are and how we act and how compassionate our faith is and how compassionate Muslims are and how well integrated we are in society in the best of ways without having to sacrifice our identity. We hope that inshallah that some of this hatred subsides. We know that much of the hatred continues because people simply are ignorant. Perhaps they've never met a Muslim. And so it's easy for them to believe what's in the news and what's in movies. What does that mean? That means every single one of us carries a responsibility. We don't want to be at another janazah in which a hate crime occurs. We don't want to have to visit a hospital room when one of our brothers or sisters have been attacked. We don't want to see broken bones. We want to be the best neighbors that we can be to all those that are around us. We want to be a thriving community. We want to be someone that somebody says, MashaAllah, or wow, look at those Muslims. They really have their life together. They have good, polite children. They clean the streets. They're polite to us. They care about us. As a neighbor, I'm an elderly person and they come and they check on me. That's what Islam is about. And that's how we change the hearts of people little by little. As far as hate crimes are concerned, perhaps they're still going to happen. But it's every single person's duty to try to prevent them. And God forbid if they do happen, what we tell everyone is to make sure you report incidents. My brothers and sisters, only 4% of Muslims here in New York report a bias incident or a hate crime to anyone, to law enforcement or even to organizations. And that makes things very, very, very difficult. If we want the programs that will help us to prevent these types of things, then there must be numbers and data to show what's actually occurring. And we know they are occurring. Certainly I, as a CARE New York representative, go into many communities, and certainly many people come and they talk to me about things that they've experienced. Sometimes brothers and sisters will say they've had things thrown at their home. Sometimes a sister will say somebody shouted some ethnic or religious slurs to her. Without reporting these issues, we can't produce the resources that are necessary. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect every single one of us and every single one of you during this holy month and inshallah every day thereafter. Keep those that have passed in your du'as inshallah, and jazakumullah khairan for being with us here in ITV as we continue to talk about what it means to be Muslim, but our right to live Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.